D&D, the world's greatest role-playing game. I've been playing for years now, and nothing gets me more excited than making a badass character or monster. And video games and anime provide the perfect inspiration for this. I mean, look at this stuff. But then you look at the game, and what you get is something like 4 Elements Monk?
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
Seriously, what am I even supposed to do with this? 4 key points for Burning Hands? Come on!
We'll have to make some major changes around here.
Welcome to the table. My name is Ian, and this is Incendium D&D. Today, we're gonna hack Dungeons and Dragons. Item number: SCP-058. Object Class: Keter. Special Containment Procedures. SCP-058 is to be kept in isolation in a 5x5 by 5 meter containment chamber at all times. Walls are to be constructed of 3 meters, 10 feet, of reinforced heat-resistant steel, backed by a further 10 meters, 33 feet, of reinforced concrete. SCP-058 is to be fed a live cow every 3 days. Maintenance is to be conducted every 60 minutes, while the SCP-58 is dormant, and every 15 minutes when SCP-58 is active. Under no circumstances is SCP-058 to be allowed out of its containment area. SCP-058 is to be audio recorded at all times. No personnel are to listen to SCP-058 for more than 30 minutes at a time. In case of escape, the facility is to be considered compromised, and detonation of on-site nuclear weaponry is to commence. To date, SCP-058 has been responsible for the death of at least 149 D-Class personnel and 14 agents at its current site. Hello everyone, welcome back to D&D Hacks, our homebrew series on Incendium D&D. Last time we created a stat block for SCP-1048, the Builder Bear, to use at our table. If you haven't seen it yet, go check it out. It's one of the more gruesome SCPs we've done thus far. For those of you who are new to the SCP universe in general, here's what you missed. If you're already familiar with it, skip to the timestamp on the screen now, or click it in the description below. Dating back to 2007, the Creative Commons universe of the SCP Foundation catalogs a multitude of monsters, items, and phenomena, which pose variable threats to human society. These anomalous objects are designated as SCPs and given a number which represents the order in which they were found. They can range from dangerous to adorable, and are classified in terms of difficulty to contain. Their powers range from distorting reality to indestructibility to being the literal embodiment of happiness. And the secret global organization only known as the Foundation has taken up the daunting task of protecting our world from them by any means necessary. Think Illuminati, but modern and scientific, rather than mystic and arcane. Thousands of tragedies have been stopped thanks to their hard work, but as more and more SCPs are discovered, end-of-the-world scenarios are never far. Dungeons & Dragons is a TTRPG in which you can do anything. You work alongside your players to design a game for everyone to enjoy, and as the DM you get to make decisions on what kind of NPCs, monsters, and gods appear in your world. SCPs make for some amazing inspiration. Generally, they fit within the context of horror or mystery, but they can also be comedic or tragic. The sheer anomalousness of these creatures leaves room for a whole new world of storytelling at the table. A statue that breaks your neck in the blink of an eye. An old man with a pocket dimension full of death traps. A hard-to-destroy reptile with a penchant for hatred. With a roster like this, it can be difficult to bring faithful adaptations from the SCP universe into our campaigns. But all that ends today because we're going to be converting another SCP into a 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons monster. SCP-58 is a large arthropod-like creature with a primary body that resembles a bovine heart. It has 4 scorpion-like legs and 4 tentacles covered in razor-like spines. From the superior vena cava is a sharp protrusion that resembles a scorpion's stinger, although its function is shown to be more than injecting mere venom according to the article. During its capture, it was determined that, quote, a majority of the deaths are attributable to fire and fire-related injuries resulting from a wide spread of stinger fluid from a large structure. So a scorpion stinger that throws flaming venom. That's great. SCP-058 moves with blinding speed, accelerating from 0 to fast in less than 2 seconds. Its top speed has been calculated at approximately 90 kilometers per hour, 55 miles per hour, in short bursts, covering up to 200 meters, 656 feet. It is relentlessly violent, always looking to maximize damage to any and all personnel and surroundings. The anomaly is nigh unstoppable through normal methods, and was only halted by, quote, running it over with a M1 tank and pinning it beneath the armored vehicle. With this combination of destruction and agility, it's no wonder that nuclear detonation seems like the only option for the Foundation when dealing with a containment breach by SCP-058. These features alone would make for a great challenge at our D&D table, but there's one more attribute I have yet to discuss: its voice. Though it has no discernible way to produce sound, SCP-058 speaks incessantly, taking on the tone and accent of the, quote, elderly British male with a slight lisp and a deep voice. No matter what's going on around it, no matter the screams of its victims as it lacerates and burns them, the voice continues as normal. What does it talk about, you ask? By all accounts, the anomaly's speech consists of word salad and nonsensical poetry, unrelated to anything involving its existence. For example, during interview 058-04, quote, endless suffering is the woe of ignorant men, who never lack to seek the depth of their own hearts, and only see the wealth of a poor world suffering to flay its own back in knife wounds of silver and brutal gladness. The nightmare is a dream to the nameless slug that wanders across minefield, and the remains of deer and kings. Because of the strange nature of this speech, the special containment procedures include a clause preventing Foundation personnel from listening to SCP-058 for more than 30 minutes at a time, since it is suspected to contain harmful mimetic effects on the listener.
I like your funny words, Magic Man.
Before we get into it though, let me know what other SCPs I should make for D&D. I am currently working on Series 1 and 2, and I am accepting all suggestions and taking them into consideration. The only caveat is that it needs to be able to be neutralized, otherwise contained or killed. Many SCPs are catastrophic in nature, so no Tiamat level entries just yet. SCP-058 focuses on bulldozing over its targets, relying on its razor-sharp tentacles and venom while it absorbs all incoming damage with a hit point pool of 170 HP plus resistances. To reflect this, we'll make it a large aberration with a speed of 50 feet. There are plenty of monsters in the monster manual which prioritize physical stats, but if I had to pick a model for this stat block, I'd probably pick the Drider. The base Drider is only a CR6, but that doesn't mean we can't use it as a base form to work from. Their build resembles a centaur if you swap out the horse parts for spider parts, so I felt it was appropriate considering how our SCP was built. I also briefly considered giving this creature a regeneration ability. However, I felt that would make it a bit too powerful. Remember, most games don't make it past levels 12 or 13, so if we overload it with different traits and abilities, it is less likely to see play. Even with this in mind, it is easily a CR10, one of the strongest monsters we've made yet. SCP-058's abilities are front-loaded into its speed, strength, and fortitude. Therefore, our monster will have its dexterity maxed out, followed with a high strength and constitution score. Charisma will be our dump stat to reflect its unnerving nature as it slashes its targets apart while spouting its gibberish. For saving throws, we'll do constitution and wisdom, with skills in acrobatics and athletics. Honestly, we don't need to give this thing a lot of survivability through saves or skills. Its HP and resistances will do that for us. For resistances, we'll do non-magical bludgeoning, slashing, and piercing damage, acid, necrotic damage, poison damage, and radiant damage, along with an immunity to fire and cold. Because I prefer to give my monsters at least one weakness, let's tack on a vulnerability to lightning damage. Since it's so similar to a bovine heart for the most of its body, I figure a jolt of electricity should have some serious impact on its functions. For all of our purposes, this creature uses blind sense to detect its targets. It cannot understand or speak any languages in the normal sense due to its special trait, word salad. The SCP-058 speaks nonsensical poetry at all times, which is understandable in every language. I took this feature directly from the description of the SCP Wiki article. It's not confirmed, but heavily implied that SCP-058's monologue has harmful psychic effects, which is why I decided to take it a step further and give it a bonus action, the Drooling Path. The name of this I did not come up with myself. It is actually from a short story series that is attached to this article. So you should go and check it out for yourself. The link will be in the description. Now, on to the trait. As a bonus action, SCP-058 emits a telepathic message to one creature it can sense within 30 feet of it. This telepathic message sounds like an incoherent jumbling of words in a language the target understands. A creature that hears the telepathic message must make a DC 15 Wisdom saving throw. If the target cannot understand a language, it automatically succeeds. On a failed save, the creature becomes disoriented for 1 minute. At the start of each of its turns, a disoriented creature must roll a d8. On a 1, the creature takes 2d6 psychic damage and does nothing on its turn. On a 2 to 6, the creature takes no action or bonus action and uses all of its movement to move in a randomly determined direction. If the creature cannot move, it spends its turn doing nothing instead. On a 7 or 8, the creature makes a melee attack against a randomly determined creature within its reach. If there are no creatures within reach, the creature spends its turn doing nothing instead. At the end of each of its turns, a disoriented creature can make another Wisdom saving throw to end this effect. Experienced D&D players and DMs will likely recognize the flavor of this ability. I've modeled it off of the Gibbering Mouther's trait, Gibbering. The Gibbering Mouther is a CR2 creature, and probably one of the first aberrations a party might encounter in their campaign. It moves slowly, has a low strength and dexterity, which is why I chose the Drider as the base model instead. To be fair though, it is quite horrific, as its bite deals massive damage for a level 2 party, and it can absorb the bodies of those it kills. To make SCP-058 unique, I made some changes. For one, this isn't an aura like many of our other SCP special features. This is because of how I imagine an encounter against SCP-058 going, where the monster targets a specific player character to focus on its initial round. This doesn't mean it can't attack other creatures, but it does imply something about its behavior. Additionally, I've changed the probability ratio for the disorientation's effects. The most likely outcome is the target moving in a random direction if it can. The second most likely is that it'll attack a random creature within its reach, and the lowest roll now inflicts psychic damage. Some people may find this to be a little bit weaker than the original feature, but I think it provides a more dynamic feel to the encounter. Lastly, for its actions, the SCP-058 has a multi-attack, where it can either make 2 tentacle attacks or 1 tentacle attack and 1 combustible venom attack. Its tentacles are powerful and can grapple the target while lacerating them with their razor-like edges, as if this creature didn't have enough ability to lock down targets. The venom it fires from its stinger is flammable and ignites on contact with the air. After taking 4d8 acid damage, the target will be forced to use its action to wipe off the venom, or take 2d4 more fire damage at the start of each of its turns. Personally, I rarely see attacks or spells that have damage over time like this get used, so I feel like it could be something fun to add to this stat block. And that's it. Our fire-spitting bovine heart on legs is done. For this aberration, I imagine the encounter going something like this. Reports have been surfacing of a destructive creature that's been hassling nearby settlements. No one knows where it came from, but folk have been forced to relocate to more fortified towns, their loved ones eviscerated and their homes burned to the ground. The party follows the creature's path of destruction, and after some time they hear a voice nearby. It sounds like an elderly gentleman. A survivor, perhaps? There's a fire nearby, smoke in the air. They get closer, and the words are discernible now. I had a dreams of the queen wonders that lived inside the hearts of love and silent treatments of all the elderly that I knew were once whole. It doesn't make any sense. Perhaps they've been traumatized by what's happened to their town? The party turns the corner, and that's where they see it. The bodies of several townsfolk lie burning on the ground, the tentacles whirling in the air, the heart throbbing incessantly, perched on its scorpion legs. Thanks for joining me for this installment of D&D Hacks. Honestly, this is one of my favorite monsters yet, and there's so much to work off of from the SCP Wiki article. Go check it out for yourselves. There are some truly amazing writers there. If you're looking for more like this, don't forget to let YouTube know by pressing like and subscribe. SCPs are often horrifying, unkillable creatures with inexplicable abilities. Maintaining the balance of this game, while keeping true to their nature and theme, is an incredible challenge for any dungeon master. That's why most people just choose to keep these worlds separate, but I think they can still serve as great inspiration for encounters, and as long as we combine their unique features while weighing out the rest of the stat block, you and your party are guaranteed to have a great time against them. I hope you enjoyed my take on SCP-058, The Heart of Darkness. Happy hunting, everyone. I'll see you in the next video. Oh, hello. This is me trying to figure out I am currently preoccupied trying to figure out this British accent. It does seem like a very curious accent. I think I can do it, though.